Hello, my name is Lieven Lagae. I'm a professor of pediatric neurology at the University Hospitals of Leuven in Belgium. Our paper, Quality of Life and Comorbidities Associated with Dravet Syndrome Severity, will be published in the January 2018 issue of Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology. Actually, it results on a very large survey in patients with Dravet syndrome. As you might know, Dravet syndrome is a rare but catastrophic epilepsy syndrome in childhood. It usually starts before the age of 1 year, and it continues with difficult to treat multiple seizure types throughout life. Many of these children, actually most of them, had a lot of comorbidities like intellectual disability, motor problems, autistic traits, behavioral problems. So this is a real burden for the families. So together with the Dravet Federation of Europe, we could reach 584 families with a child with Dravet syndrome. And this makes it the largest survey so far on quality of life and seizure severity in Dravet syndrome. The median age of our cohort was about 10 years, but actually we were also very happy to see that we could capture a lot of adults with Dravet syndrome. About 17% of our cohort were adults with Dravet syndrome. So actually we also have a very good view on the burden of the disease in adulthood. Now what about the results? Not to our surprise, but still it is frustrating to see that only 10% of all these patients with Dravet syndrome were seizure-free in the last 3 months. So that really shows the high seizure frequency burden in this population. And the most frequently encountered seizure type still in adults were tonic-clonic seizures, which are very severe seizures. And just to show you another issue, actually about 50% of our cohort needed at least one ambulance call or one hospitalization, again showing the high burden of this disease. Now, we looked in more detail to the quality of life, and we used a standardized scale for that. And again, not to our surprise, we found that quality of life in Dravet syndrome is actually quite low. It's about 0.42. You have to know that in a normal population, quality of life with this scale is 0.8 to 1, actually indicating that the quality of life in Dravet children was about 50% of what you could expect in a normal population. This was associated with seizure frequency, of course. The higher the seizure frequency, the lower the quality of life. So that actually appeals again to find better treatments for Dravet syndrome. Now, we also asked about the trajectory, the diagnostic trajectory, and as in many rare diseases, we could see that for many patients it took a long time before the right diagnosis was made. We were very happy to see that in the younger populations, actually it took only about 1 year to get to the right diagnosis. And in many of them, it was even before 6 months. So this is reassuring. Now, when we look at the treatments, of course, almost all of these children are on anti-epileptic drugs. And in this cohort, actually the drugs that we know that are useful for Dravet syndrome are being used. Despite the fact that they were giving the right drugs, as I told you, only 10% of these children became seizure-free. So there is definitely a need for newer anti-epileptic drugs to treat this disease. In addition, we also found out that many parents give other therapeutic interventions like vitamins, also other treatments for behavioral problems. They go to physiotherapists, psychologists to treat or to try to treat comorbidities. Again, showing that a family with a child with Dravet syndrome really needs a lot of time to take care of the child with Dravet syndrome. So I think, in conclusion, our study gives a real nice insight in families of children with Dravet syndrome. It actually illustrates the high seizure burden, the high number of comorbidities, and the relationship between those two. So I do hope that you will enjoy reading our paper in the next issue of Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology. Thank you very much.